All right. So when is Aaron going to make his decision? This is becoming just too much. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of JetCast Nation. My name's Pat. This is Ray. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you've been here before, welcome back. So let's recap everything that has happened so far. This morning we learned about some restructures, right? We had Lincoln Tomlinson, DJ Reed, and who was the third one?
Tyler Conklin.
Tyler Conklin. So the Jets are pushing money off to later years. I think Tomlinson's going to be a $23 million cap hit. 22 or
highest
23?
in the NFL for his position,
That's
by
crazy.
far.
Now, there's no sane GM, I think, that would do this if they didn't know Aaron was coming. So the question becomes, and we've heard multiple things now. Is it Aaron not knowing if he wants to be a Jet, or is the hold up him? I'm sorry. Is the hold up between the Jets and the Packers, right? And then working out the details. So, what is your opinion? What do you think?
I mean, you got to think that something's absolutely in the works. Just this past week, between the Barrios release and these three restructures, the Jets have saved $20.2 million. Now, they were already negative coming into this season. We all spoke about prior to the Aaron Rodgers situation and Derek Carr situation, the cap space that they were going to have going into the 2024 season, which was very high. So I know Jet fans might be alarmed by some of these cap hits you're going to see. DJ Reed's going to go from like $9 million to about $18 million, but believe it or not, he's probably worth somewhere around that if he continues the kind of play that he's had.
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin, man, that's one that's going to be really interesting. He, I believe, goes to the number 3 tight end in the NFL, salary cap wise, next year, and then obviously Conklin. Conklin came off a very poor year. Tomlinson.
Sorry, when you say
Tomlinson,
next year, you mean 2024?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Not this season.
Not this season.
So,
All right.
so Tomlinson, I'm one of his biggest fans. He retweeted me once or twice throughout the season, which kind of warmed the heart a little bit. But I got to be very honest. He had a poor season, and I think he was dealing with a nagging injury. Nothing's really come out about that. I find it very hard to believe you go from playing at an all-pro level to one of the worst linemen in the NFL at your position. I just, he had to be dealing with something.
Yeah.
But Joe Douglas is taking a gamble here because if Tomlinson has another poor year, this could be, I don't want to say catastrophic, but you're going into this year, you already have one player in Quentin Williams who's been complaining and saying he's not going to show up for voluntary workouts because of his cap situation. So we are an absolute win now team, and if this Rodgers thing doesn't pan out and what we went over yesterday fulfills itself, Joe Douglas is going to have all hell to pay. And it's not just, it's going to be a lot of illogical Jet fans, but myself included. If Ryan Tannehill is the starting quarterback for this team after all this restructuring, because I want Jet fans to know, you can kick the can down the road a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Then you end up in situations like the Saints where you have a first-team all-pro safety that you have to watch walk out the door because now you can't pay them. And when you're a win-now team, you're sacrificing cap in the future. It's something that you can't miss on, because if you miss on it, you're going to cost yourself your job,
Right. So, I mean, again, I don't think he does this unless he knows that he's coming, because all this restructuring happened after their flight to the West Coast and meeting with him. So I'm of the opinion that they probably know he's picked the Jets. I think he's probably given the green light to the Packers. I think the Packers are trying to right now get the most they can out of this deal, and Joe Douglas is probably standing firm because he knows that by taking on Aaron Rodgers, taking on that contract, he's putting himself and his, the Jets are at risk. Now, if they do get him, and then it doesn't pan out, either he flames out, or he either flames out, doesn't play well, whatever it is. I don't think it's going to cost Joe Douglas his job. I don't think it's going to cost Robert Saleh his job, because this came from Woody Johnson, right? We know Woody wanted Aaron Rodgers, and I mean, that just wouldn't be fair to Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh if you're acting on what Woody wanted you to do, and then it doesn't pan out, and then he fires you for it. I think that's. I mean, of course he could fire them, but it'd be pretty shitty.
We've seen stranger things. Remember when we brought in a guy like Brett Favre for Mangini?
But the truth is, before he got injured, it worked out. We were 8-3.
You're right.
Okay, and then the next season he leaves, and we go to back-to-back AFC Championship games. You can't tell me that if Brett Favre stayed with that team in 2009 and 2010, that we don't have a ring.
Yeah, you're probably right there. And
I mean the 2010 AFC Championship game against the Steelers, right? First half, the offense comes out playing like shit. If you had Brett Favre, maybe that doesn't happen, and you win that game, and then all of a sudden you have Brett Favre facing Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl in 2010. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's a done. I think it's at least in Aaron's mind that he has probably already given the okay and say, I want to be a Jet and make it happen. And the Packers are probably trying to get the most out of it. And I'm just going by off of what the president and CEO of the Packers said in his interview. He clearly made it seem like he's out the door, and they're trying to do right by Aaron and give him what he wants. And if what he wants was to retire, we wouldn't be at this point right now. They would not be talking.
That's one thing that we spoke about earlier, and there's one other story I want to get to too, but we'll get to it right after this. Mm-hmm. We keep hearing that Rodgers is contemplating retirement. If he retires, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I remember I looked at it a couple weeks ago, the kind of money he'd be leaving on the table. It'd be astronomical. And even
it'd be astronomical.
It'd be insane to leave that kind of money on the table. Now, there's rumors out there, I can't confirm or deny them, that Aaron will not give the Jets a 2-year commitment right off the bat, which they're looking for, because they're going to be restructuring guys, going into complete cap hell after the 2024 season. So not this season, after the following season, they're willing to go into the cap hell and have to not start over, because you have a lot of young guys with Sauce and Garrett and the people that Joe Douglas are going to bring in the next couple draft class, but veteran-wise, they're going to try to bring in these talents. We talked about it yesterday, the Adam Thielens. He is still a very reputable receiver in this league.
Right.
We heard that the Jets were at the OBJ workouts. I know a lot of Jet fans that are completely for him, and there's a big side that are completely against him. And I just think if Joe Douglas wants to bring that guy in, you feel you're establishing a winning culture already. It is what it is. But I'll tell you one thing. If you're going to tell me you have a wide receiving core of Garrett Wilson, who's an absolute number one. We heard at OBJ's workouts that the guy looks absolutely shredded. He bulked up.
Well, you don't need to just watch the videos. Watch the videos.
Right. So if you're going to tell me you have a top 4 where it's Garrett Wilson, OBJ, Thielen, and Elijah Moore, and then you're bringing in a guy like, we already have Conklin, who had a solid year considering the quarterbacks that were throwing him the ball. And then that brings me to the next story I wanted to get into, which I don't know if it's true. It was all over Twitter today, but allegedly Jamal Williams may be interested in coming to the Jets.
Right, I saw that.
And why that's a big story is we don't know how impactful Brees Hall's going to be coming back from this injury, considering we saw what Saquon and his injury, it took him a year to get back to shape. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times with his ACLs, that's what ends up happening. But Jamal Williams last year had 262 rush attempts, 1,066 yards, 4.1 average per attempt on Detroit, and 17 touchdowns. He would add a completely different dynamic to this team. If you're telling me you don't want to put a ton of pressure on Aaron Rodgers and you're going to say, hey, we want to bring you in, but we're not going to say you're the absolute savior. You bring in a guy like Jamal Williams to pair with Brees Hall when somebody needs a breath, so you have a fresh back the
Yeah.
entire
Yep.
game. And Michael Carter is your third running back. And Bam Knight's coming off the practice squad, which he probably would get picked up by somebody else. It's just the depth of this team. If you can get something like that, then I am full bore going offensive lineman in this draft. And I trust Joe Douglas because we've seen it time and time again. Uh, Mekhi Becton is an absolute Pro Bowl talent, all pro talent when healthy. Elijah Vera-Tucker, he speaks for himself. He went out and got him. And Max Mitchell in the mid rounds last year, the guy was starting and playing pretty damn well at right tackle, and you're not going to ask him to. You're bringing a guy like Brown back. You're probably going to draft an offensive lineman in the first round if one of the top guys are still there, and I wouldn't be shocked because we've seen it in the past how willing Joe Douglas is to move up in the first round to go get his guy. So I would not be shocked by that. A big concern for me was who's going to be under center.
Yeah.
I think McGovern's past his time. I think it's time for him to move on. But I could see potentially a veteran center coming in here because I doubt you're going to go with a rookie center on a Super Bowl contending team, dare I say. So it'd be really interesting to see. We heard today, Pat, maybe you can talk about this a little more because you were on it before I was. There's reports all over the place, and I put it out on JetCast on a short. A couple of people in the know say this might be not just an Aaron Rodgers to the Jets for draft picks. You may see players being swapped. We're hearing names being thrown around, Elijah Moore, Jeremy Rucker potentially. Those young kind of guys, and then multiple guys coming back to the Jets, and we're talking high impact players. That's what we were told, high impact players.
Well, I
What
don't
that
know if it
means,
was in that trade, but I did see a tweet from, I forget who it was. I did see the rumors going around that there will be a high impact player coming to the Jets outside of this transaction with the Packers. And then that's when, shortly after that, I saw the Jamal Williams rumors.
what do you think about him? We saw him
17
last
touchdowns,
year.
sign me up.
I mean, and a big thing is
You have a
just
two-headed
over 4
monster.
yards.
I know you have a two-headed monster of Brees Hall and Jamal Williams. Like, you're asking Aaron Rodgers to not do much at that point. You can sit there and run the ball down as long as the offensive line is healthy. Run the ball down people's throats. It'll be ground and pound 2.0 if that happens.
Right, and if you look at his age, he's going into his age 28 year. He's not some spring chicken, especially at the running back position. It's not lineman where you could be good well into your 30s like Andrew Whitworth, who's almost 40 playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Right.
Running back's got a short life, so having a guy like that,
yeah,
it's just
and
nice to be in that
familiar
situation right
and
now.
him being so familiar with Aaron Rodgers is just a plus. If we're able to acquire him, or he's coming to a team that is young but is built to win right now, and it has to be happening. There's no way it's not happening with all this restructuring going on, because if it doesn't happen,
If it doesn't happen, I hear Ryan Tannehill. I will bring Joe and Clark on our show and let him destroy Woody Johnson if it doesn't happen at this point.
I think you take a swing at Lamar. You have to.
Well, the issue is I know, but here's the issue, Pat. The Ravens are allowing him to set his own market because he's asking for this astronomical money and they're saying no one else is going to give it to you. At the end of the day, you could say, oh, I'm going to give up the 2 first-round picks in this giant contract for Lamar. The Ravens still have the right to match. I don't see them letting Lamar Jackson. How would you justify a 26-year-old MVP quarterback walking out the door when you have the right to match? It's not like he's an unrestricted free agent. He can go see and canvass the entire league. That's not how it works. And
I know. I'm just saying that if it doesn't work out with Aaron, you have to
take a swing.
You have to take that swing. You have to take that chance because, like you said, the other option is, I think, Jimmy Garoppolo first, and then possibly Tannehill.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm hearing.
Well, I know I know who you're talking to, so I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. But let's just pray. And pray that Aaron Rodgers wants to be. I think he wants to be.
If this doesn't happen, you got to agree with me, Pat. If this does not happen at this point, it's almost catastrophic. Because we're not all of a sudden.
The CEO of the Packers said on camera they believe in Jordan Love. They believe that he will be a starter. He is their starter. Right. How do you say that? Go through all of this trade talk, and then it not happen? If Aaron wanted to retire,
well, that's the other aspect.
Why would the Packers go through all this? Unless he hasn't told them to retire. There's so many levels to this. I can't keep up with it.
There's got to be a decision though by Monday.
It has to be because that's when the new league year starts.
Right, and you got your legal tampering period,
right,
where teams are going to be able to, you're there to make your moves by then. So I really think the decision, it's got to be tomorrow. Or
it's got to be tomorrow.
Very shortly, and I hope that I just get so scared of the Tyreek Hill situation and the other aspect where he could just say I want to retire, or when I was on vacation in Florida, I talked to a couple Green Bay fans and they were saying how much they love him there. He adores the city, and they wouldn't be surprised if he wants to stay a Packer or just retire because, he's a very sentimental kind of person.
Obviously.
Right.
How could you not? But, I mean, it's very rare. And again, the Packers CEO said this. It's very rare for a player to stay with one team his entire career.
Talk about solidifying your legacy.
So who do you believe then? Because Connor Hughes said that the deal is essentially done. And they're waiting on Rodgers, but then
I know. And it was for contradictory reports.
Tom Pelissero says it's not a done deal.
Right.
So who
there's
are you
conflicting
believing?
Reports, and there's other guys out there saying, well, there's been framework, nothing's been agreed upon, and supposedly, we keep hearing, oh yeah, Rodgers hasn't. We heard Rodgers informed the Packers he doesn't want to be in Green Bay anymore. But then there's also reports saying that Rodgers requested to talk to the Jets, number one, which I believe is confirmed league-wide at this point, right? I don't think there's anybody fighting that. But number two, there's conflicting reports about there's an agreed-upon deal, there's no agreed-upon deal, and there's nobody saying that Rodgers wants to actually play football next year. That's something he's still contemplating. So when I see the report coming out today from somebody on Twitter, who I can't confirm if they're in the know or not, but saying that Rodgers isn't even sure he wants to play, he's contemplating retirement, that's something you got to take into consideration. The guy's 39 years old. He's contemplating, it feels like every single year something's going on. He knows he's being pushed out the door by Jordan Love because Green Bay has to find out what they have in him. He was a first-round pick that they went up to get, and it's, he's coming close to getting paid. So there's still so many unknowns, which I feel the longer this drags out, the more likely it doesn't happen. So I feel like if we don't have it by tomorrow,
because we can't go into free agency not knowing who the quarterback is. You can't approach free agents without a plan. So
how do you? Derek Carr wanted to be here. We were his preferred destination. You saw his brother talking on television how great everybody was, how Saleh was. They went out golfing the Saleh.
They have to know They must have an answer from Aaron if they are so
Right.
ready to brush off Derek Carr.
I wonder
Now,
if Joe
granted,
Douglas is trying to
Derek Carr in his
fleece.
press conferences, I'm not going to guarantee wins. I'm going to guarantee a best effort or whatever he said. If he said that in a press conference in Florham Park, he would have been chewed up and spit out.
Yeah, Joe Namath guarantees Super Bowls.
Right. All right. So, in just recapping everything, nobody knows shit, and we're all sitting around waiting. So, thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully, we'll have an answer soon. Ray, any last words?
Aaron, football gods.
Football
please,
gods.
Do not Tyreek kill me again. That was brutal last year.
Oh, he never wanted to come here.
I had my heart broken once. I'm ready to fall in love again. Please. Oh, and by the way, make sure you're subscribed and like us on Twitter because I'll put it like this: once Aaron Rodgers becomes a Jet, we will be giving away a Jets jersey of his. So make sure you're subscribed.
You have to subscribe to us on Twitter. You got to retweet that tweet. I'll have it in the description of this video, and you must also subscribe to the channel.
Very simple.
All right, everybody have a good night, and hopefully we're talking about Aaron being our quarterback tomorrow. So
that's right. Go Jets.
Go Jets.